I did a video last week about Conor Benn saying that he looks, well, more often than not, when you're talking about a fighter who's not fighting a heavyweight, more often than not, they look in good shape. But Conor Benn in this recent clip, which is, I don't want to say more revealing because then you have to say the word pause, but you know what I mean. You can really see how much weight he's packed on for this fight with Chris Eubank Jr. To be honest with you, I would say Conor Benn, the idea of him ever fighting at welterweight again, looking how he looks here, is probably gone. I'd say it's probably gone. His his quads look massive. His upper body, his kind of shoulder region, that looks massive. It really does look to me as though he's not coming into this fight thinking, well, I'm the guy, coming up from 147 to 154 now fighting at 160. It's almost as if he wants to just stay there. Because he's talked about, I remember with Morgan, he talked about, his future's at welterweight. Not if you're looking like this, man. It's been 3 years since you fought welterweight, and not if you were looking at it like this. I wonder, is he going into this fight thinking, well, one, I'm going to have to match him physically, even if he is drained, he is still going to be the naturally bigger guy. And second, I wonder, does he know himself? Listen, Conor Benn is not neither is Chris Eubank Jr., to be fair. Neither are known for their innate boxing ability. I mean, you're not going to be showing an amateur or a young novice, clips of Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. and saying, that's the sweet science. You're just not going to be doing that, right? Especially not Eubank Jr., especially with, peak Eubank Jr. with the uppercuts. You just wouldn't do that. But I wonder, is he thinking, okay, maybe I'm going to struggle to get by this guy's jab. It's not a great jab Eubank Jr. has, but at the end of the day, it's a longer reach, and you probably could put Conor Benn on the end of that. Not much you can really do with that. And I wonder, is he thinking there could be a chance that he maybe goes behind? He's been talking about wanting knockouts and this, that, and the other. And I think with Conor Benn, I would say Conor Benn has decent power there. I wouldn't say he's on, like Liam Smith probably does hit a little bit harder. I'll be honest with you. Liam Smith has always been shown to be a decent enough puncher. I think with Conor Benn, he's always said, I end these guys in 2 rounds. Well, you fought 2 basically middleweights in your last 2 fights, and you couldn't even put a dent to them. One of them, that guy, what was his name, Peter Dobson, I have never seen one such a limited fighter to be undefeated and to do so slow at that weight. He was so slow, it was painful. And you couldn't put a dent in those guys. One of them was over 12 rounds. You lost rounds in that fight. And that's the last time you fought over a year ago. So people talk about Chris Eubank Jr. coming into this fight with not the greatest run of form. Conor Benn hasn't looked impressive since, and I'm not going to count, like, when was the last impressive fight I saw with Conor Benn in reality was probably the Adrian Granados fight. I think that's that guy's name. That was in Fight Camp nearly 4 years ago. Because he was fighting an awkward opponent. Oh no, it wasn't Fight Camp, but I forget when it was. It was meant to be Fight Camp, but it got postponed. But you know what I mean? That's the last time I was impressed with him. Because he was in there with an awkward vet, and he looked alright, Conor Benn. Algieri, knockout, highlight reel knockout. But Chris Algieri at this point in 2021 was just like, what the hell? What was his name? Van Heerden. Chris Van Heerden. Errol Spence stopped him in a couple of rounds, in 2015? Really? And so on and so forth, his last 2. So he's not really looked that impressive. And part of me does think that Conor Benn is going into this fight thinking, I want to knock this guy out, and I need the size to be able to do it. Because if you think about it, he has been undersized in those last 2 fights at 154 pounds. He hasn't been able to put a dent in them. He's even made, reference to the fact that he wants to get the 8-ounce gloves back on. He can't obviously do it in this fight. It's at middleweight. They won't allow it. But you know what I mean? Because he's knowing himself that, like, look, the punching power is not what it should be when I'm fighting these bigger guys. Maybe that's because he's not big enough. So I wonder, is that what Conor Benn is doing in the run-up to this fight? Because he looks absolutely massive. I mean, I couldn't get over the size of his quads. And I know what a lot of people are going to be saying. The last time he looked that big, we know what happened. And we do know what happened. Oh, we do. That Chris Eubank Jr. egg, we all know what that was a reference to. Listen, nothing has happened so far. We haven't heard anything. Chris Eubank Sr. is still adamant this fight won't happen. Now, he was right the first time. He was. This time around, I don't know. And the Ring Magazine are doing this one. It's a great undercard. I've done a little video for them as well, so hopefully that'll be out in the next couple of days. But I don't know. And at the end of the day, unless it's there in black and white, I can't say anything, And as far as I'm concerned, this fight will happen. as far as I'm concerned. I'm still leaning towards Chris Eubank Jr., but man, Conor Benn, he is looking big. I suspect he's going full blown. I'm going for the knockout. That's what I suspect, because he looks massive. I'd be very surprised with the amount of muscle mass he put on if he'll be able to make welter again. I'd be very surprised, because the body hasn't had to do it in the last 3 years, and you've packed on, and he's growing naturally. You know, he's in his late 20s now. I'd be very surprised if he can do welterweight safely. And if he fights at 154, yikes. You've better chance of winning a world title at welterweight, to be honest with you, because Conor Benn, Fundora, oh no. I always forget the guy's name, the IBF champion. I always forget his name. Yeah, he'd annihilate Conor Benn. He really would. He'd absolutely eat him up. Ortiz, no. These would, even guys like Boacek and Madrimov, I mean, these guys would annihilate Conor Benn. They'd send him into space. So, yeah, he might be doing all right, looking well aesthetically, but if he tries to go back down the welterweight, he could be in for some problems. But yeah, Conor Benn looking huge. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe as always if you haven't already. Until next time, peace.